10-year-old boy fell twice at you. I threw you in the mud. Why would you help me?" Ryan reached into his hoodie and pulled out the wrecked, soaking piece of paper. He wiped it against his sleeve, and it tore slightly at the corner. Victor's stomach dropped. "Is that—" "I don't know if it still works," Ryan said quietly. "It got wet. I tried to keep it dry, but I fell twice getting here." For a second, staring at the torn, water-damaged map in a 10-year-old's hand, Victor thought his $500 million answer had just turned to pulp in the rain. And something in his chest went cold in a completely different way than before. Then he unrolled it, carefully under the street lamp. The ink had run at the edges, but the seal was still legible. The lines still held. It was real. Ryan pulled the brass key from around his neck and pressed it into Victor's palm. Old Arthur says a person's time can be bad, but the person isn't. And he says when someone's falling, you don't step over them, you pull them up. Victor used Ryan's cracked prepaid phone to call his executive team from the bench, sitting in the mud in a ruined suit. The documents were verified within the hour. The investors signed. $500 million, saved by a torn map and a boy who should have hated him. But something bigger happened on that bench that night. The man who sat down in that ditch was not the same man who stood up from it.
The next morning, Victor didn't send a check. He didn't send a publicist. He drove himself to the shelter, walked in soaking wet from the night before, and got down on his knees in front of Ryan. "You didn't beg me for anything," he said. "You could have let me rot in that ditch and taken the map straight to my competitors for triple the price. You saved my company, and you saved something in me I didn't know was still there to save." Within a month, Victor adopted Ryan. He bought the entire block around Arthur's shop and built the largest public library the neighborhood had ever seen, with Arthur as its honorary curator for life. Sarah, the shelter supervisor who'd handed a freezing kid $50 and never once checked if he'd spent it on himself, became director of a new youth foundation. 4 years later, Ryan was the top student in his graduating class. Science, history, every subject Arthur's basement had quietly built in him. The night before he left for university, he sat down and wrote 3 letters. Not to Victor, not to the company that now had his name on the door. He wrote to Arthur, who gave away his most guarded secret to a boy with muddy shoes. He wrote to Sarah, who never asked where the coat money went. And he wrote to the shelter's night guard, who used to leave the reading lamp on an hour past lights out every single night, without ever saying why. Arthur's hands shook reading his. He hadn't known, until that letter, that the 2 things he'd saved from a demolition site 20 years apart, a brass key and a boy, had ended up saving each other. Sarah framed hers by the front door of the new youth center, where every kid walking in for the first time would see it.
Never measure a person by where they're sleeping tonight. Empty pockets have never once meant an empty mind, and a torn hoodie has never kept anyone from having a heart bigger than the room they're standing in. Sometimes the person who saves everything you have isn't wearing a suit. Sometimes he's got one broken shoe, a dying umbrella, and a paper so important he fell twice trying to keep it dry for you. Arthur kept one more drawer in that cabinet locked his whole life. Nobody, not even Ryan, knows what's inside it. Maybe that's a story for another day. If this one stayed with you, tell us in the comments where you'd start.